we're now going to chat to Easy Life Kitchens, and Mark Cronje and Kirsten Cronje are here to chat to us. And I always say this when Mark's around. I've known Mark for a long time from motor racing, and he's also a multiple South African and world champion. And when we first met, I said, "How old were you, Mark?" You were in junior karting.
Yeah. BuildAid actually started sponsoring my brother when he raced as a kid, and that's actually what got us going in the sport.
Great stuff. Kitchens are probably one of the most complex areas in a home, and complex doesn't mean that we can't understand what's going on. It's just there are so many components and so many resources and services that go into one space that you need to think about it really carefully. And a company like Easy Life and Kirsten and Mark and their team, obviously, again, visit them. It's free. They don't charge you to come and talk to them. Okay, we'll be able to highlight these things. We're going to be chatting to the guys from Bosch after this. And an example would be, we're going to put the fridge over there and it needs these connections and this and this and this. If it's planned properly, you don't bump into this when the roof's on and you go, oh, the plug's in the wrong place or the water's in the wrong place. That costs thousands. So it's a bit like an orchestra, a kitchen. It needs to be conducted correctly. Just to start with the design, and Kirsten, I know you're very much involved in the initial client contact. Where does it start with either the homeowner or the architect?
Well, the ideal time is before the plans are actually finalized, because there's a lot of points that need to actually go onto the building plans if they're done correctly. So we really like to get involved very early. It seems strange, but it is better to get us involved very early so we can get your needs, get your wants, get all of your ideals into that design, get the design actually done in terms of what your needs are, practical, all of that stuff into your design, and then give it back to the architect to be able to put the plumbing points where they need to be, the electrical points where they need to be, and then when your builder actually builds the house, all of those points are in the correct place. So it's very early, but it's the right time to do it.
So I want to ask you a question that normally has a very scary answer, is how often do homeowners, or architects for that matter, come and see you up front rather than when the roof's already on?
Yeah, it's very seldom.
Very seldom. And it's unfortunate. It's always, you've got to ask why. It's like insane. Why did you not do it when you were planning?
And the sad thing is, as you know, is that most of the professional trades will always refer back to your architect's drawings, irrespective of what's happened on the kitchen drawings. So you'll give a copy of that plan to your builder, whether he gives it to his guys or foresees the plumbing or the electrical side gets done properly, that's like a guess. So you really have to spend time on making sure that happens.
It limits you as well in terms of your design. So if you come in too late and all the points are already in, you have limitations in terms of what we can do then, because your builder's not going to move a plumbing point from the wall to the center island because that's what we want. So it does limit you. And also, it's not only plumbing points and electrical points. We've obviously been doing this for a long time, and we've seen a lot of projects and seen a lot of things done. So sometimes we have feedback in terms of, window positions or door positions, or should we bring this wall out and close the section in to make a niche. Those things we also sometimes give you advice on. If we can see something really is not going to functionally work, it gives you the time and options to go back to your architect and work with him and get it to work for you.
The other side is that obviously from the professional trades, we always get approached first, especially with the bigger kitchen companies. So let it be Bosch or a specific hardware company that introduces a new product into the industry. They don't go to the architect, they come to the professional trade, which then filters to the architect. And a lot of the time the architects don't have that information. So we have that information to be able to help the architect give you a specific product that could probably solve a lot of your issues.
You mentioned windows. The architect would probably have his window lined up with something above. It's not just a hole in the wall.
Yeah.
And if it makes sense to move it to fit the kitchen or the sink or something, that certainly has to be done up front.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
The trades that are involved with kitchens, maybe we can just run through them. Certainly the electrician and the plumber.
Yeah, those are the guys that I would meet on site. The more specific things are if you're extracting out, so if you've got an extraction system in the kitchen that needs to be extracted out. Nowadays that is quite a professional system because of the size of the rooms, especially if they're open plan. They take into consideration the type of extractor that you would need for that. So that would be another person. Sometimes the flooring guys, it's quite important for us. Wooden floors, we've got quite a process in terms of when we put the kitchen in versus when the flooring goes in. So those are all the type of things.
I guess ceilings as well. If you're going to be using bulkheads, different kind of lighting, and the lighting's going to evolve around not only your cupboards and your work areas.
A very famous problem that we struggle with is obviously a lot of people doing double-story homes, the positioning of those lightings. You've got a slab, the guys are putting those boxes in the slab. If you don't have a ceiling, they're not going to line up with anything. So those are the type of things that the architect would fix already if he has the kitchen drawing.
Gas is something else that's become very popular. And if you're going to put the gas on a central island, then it becomes even more tricky if you want to.
Especially nowadays with the raft. A raft foundation is a solid cast beam in your house, and no one engineer will allow you to chop on that raft. So if those services are not indicated on the correct plan, you are limited to what you're going to be able to do.
Mark, just something on site readiness. Let's now assume that this has been designed and planned correctly, and you guys are now going to have to come and put the units.
Site readiness is kind of my pet in my business, and the reason for it is that there's two sides to this thing. Obviously the client wants the product 100% finished, quality product that he paid for, which he deserves. The second side of it is that the builder is trying to get you in so that he can finish off and get his draw from the bank. So 9 times out of 10 there ends up being a bit of a discrepancy because the guys want us in earlier than what we believe the kitchen should be going in. So just as a rule of thumb, the ceilings need to be painted just before final coat. If the walls are going to be tiled, they need to be prepped, no tiles. Floor tiling has to be in. I'm not too sure, there is a bit of a backwards and forwards with the Sempeed product. Some of the guys like it in, some of the guys don't. We have to obviously work more carefully when it comes to once the product's been laid. But those are the type of finishes that we would expect to be in. We are finding that we're coming into the kitchen, coming in with the kitchen, and the guy wants to now start rhinolighting the ceiling or the wall. That's a no-go. Those are the type of things that I would avoid. So site readiness really is very much dependent on the owner being involved with his builder. Understanding those trades could stumble each other.
And Mark, another question that's probably got a gloomy answer is, in your experience, obviously in residential, how often is the architect involved at that point of site readiness?
Sure. I must tell you, in all the kitchens, we do between 20 and 30 kitchens a month, and I've got to tell you, if maybe 2 of them at that time.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And none of them were planned properly?
No.
Yeah, that's frightening. And that's what these seminars are all about, is to say to people, let's plan correctly. You've got a company like BuildAid that can help you with the big picture and bills of quantities. You've got manufacturers and suppliers like these guys here today that will help you for free. It just takes time. That's the only thing you need is time. Kirsten, design trends. What's popular at the moment, or over the last year?
I'd probably say that what I'm seeing a lot of is a lot of mixing of finishes and bringing in glosses and raw products and rough products and textures. We see a lot of, and also kind of keeping the base very neutral and bringing in accents to make features out of different parts of the kitchens, allowing you more longevity in terms of your kitchen, and just being able to change 1 or 2 items to give you a different look depending on the style that you're going for in the next couple of years, and playing with different depths, different heights, that type of thing. Combining a lot of raw wood and natural looking wood is very, very popular with a very glossy modern finish. So that's
Yeah.
are very popular, and it also allows, it gives you a broad range. Generally we'd have a couple and the wife loves modern and high gloss, and the husband loves, some wood, rough, that type of thing inside the kitchen, and it allows us to be able to combine and give you what you want as a couple. Yeah.
The graphic on the screen sort of quite nicely displays different work areas and different functionality. Obviously, that's also key in designing a kitchen.
Absolutely, it's if your kitchen is designed correctly, it's really a pleasure to work in. So that's where the zones make such a big impact. Is that you're not walking 10 kilometers just to make dinner at night. You can go. Everything is planned specifically in the different zones according to how your workflow works. So it's very important to get that done. It's a whole package. So it's getting the zones, the practicality, the workflow, and then also to get it to look good. So it's a whole package deal.
Like most products, technology drives good design. We have better kitchens, but kitchens have come a long way, particularly in the last sort of 15 years. With the size of the drawers and how they work, and your push and close.
I think what's quite
features.
important, Graham, just going back to this drawing, is that this is actually dynamic space. It's a product that's been developed by Bloom, and it really focuses on a couple of key areas. One being motion in the kitchen, obviously the drawers, the functionality of each storage unit, and I think it's quite a nice tool for you guys when you're planning your kitchen. Is once you have a drawing from your kitchen designer, is to color the particular cupboards in for what they would be used for, and see how spread out your kitchen is, because that really will give you the dynamic of the kitchen, the flow rate of the kitchen. Because you don't want to, for instance, have a situation where you're collecting a cereal bowl here, fetching the milk on the opposite end of the kitchen, and picking a spoon up somewhere else. So it'll give you a good idea of how to basically make that run a lot shorter. The dynamic space as well is also developed from a European base, because kitchens are much smaller in Europe, but yet they're quite efficient. So that's one of the things that we are trying to introduce as Easy Life Kitchens, to make it much easier for people to work around. Even from a design element, it's easy to make a kitchen look good. It's difficult to get the workflow and the look all together. So that's really based on a person with experience that really understands, firstly, your dynamic in your family, and secondly, how the dynamic space works. And to design that element with a look in what you're looking for is somebody that's got experience and knows what they're doing.
Mark, just two last things. One is what percentage does the kitchen make of the entire cost of a home, and KSA?
Look, the costing of a kitchen again is really dependent on what product you choose. But when we did our case study in the last 2 years, we found between 6 and 12% is what the guys are spending on. From a build perspective. So if you're spending 3 million rand, between 6 and 12% is what the guys are spending, excluding appliances. And again, it really, we can really spend a lot more than that depending on what product we allocate to you. But yeah, I think that's a good guideline for you guys.
And then KSA, I know a lot of associations or rather trades, etc., have watchdogs, if we could call it that.
Look,
but they're important.
From my point of view, I would highly recommend this. Anybody that's using a kitchen company, please make sure that they're KSA members. It is a safety net for you guys, and we've been in cases where we've helped people solve it. So the KSA is the ombudsman of our industry. What will happen is, if you're not happy with what I've produced for you, we would contact them or you would contact them, and there's a process. But the bottom line is they get external trades to come and do an evaluation of what you've got. Is it fair? And help you arbitrate that whole system, and hopefully get you to the point where you are happy.
Thanks so much, guys. That's Mark and Kirsten Cronje.
Thanks.